You're listening to Beyond the Metagame, a podcast where two experienced competitive Super Smash Bros. Players look beyond the controller to analyze and break down the unspoken psychological framework of the competitive scene. Welcome, broadcasting to the entirety of the Super Smash Bros. Community. This is Beyond the Metagame. I'm your host Peon, this week live from a genie's lamp. I'm joined, as always, by wonderful co-host Abhi. How's it going, big boy?
All right. So, has the lamp been activated yet, or did we just get our three wishes, or are we inside the lamp? Like what?
Abhi, you rubbed the lamp. I'm sure you remember, and you wished to then be inside of the lamp, and now we can't find the genie, Abhi. That was the worst first wish in genie encounter history.
What did it? Was I just like? I'm sorry, I must have like passed out or something. Was I just really interested in like the physics of how someone lives inside the lamp?
Yeah, it's like the Pokeball quandary. Like, what the hell happens when? You know, why does Pikachu not want to go in the Pokeball? Like, there has to be some terrible stuff going on.
I mean, I always kind of reconciled it by just saying that there was some kind of like magical resort in there. But it's like, if you're being forced into a magical resort, it's less exciting than if you do it out of your own volition. So,
what about like the Pokemon always seem kind of happy when they leave the ball. They're like, "Oh, Ash, Misty, what's up?" You know, like they're pretty pumped. So certainly you can't. I think there's no way they're like in the jacuzzi and they just get plopped out.
The whole premise of Pokemon is just dogfighting.
No, we talked about this. We talked about this on the podcast. Where like you capture a Rattata, and then you level it up by making it like kill its peers. You know, like it's brutal, dude. It's brutal.
Yeah. Pokemon is the most brutal concept that has been accepted by. I think it's been accepted more universally than Super Smash Brothers, and like at least like when Mario beats up like Luigi, it's just like just this brotherly rivalry, and it's like it's at least kind of
because you assume that like I guess okay, so in the OG in the Smash 64, the little intro sequence shows like the Master Hand picking up the. Yeah. So I always, in my head, imagined that the premise of Smash was like they were sort of like these action figures that we were controlling, so it seemed a little bit. But Pokemon has no such premise.
No, not at all.
Just, well, dude, I'm glad you're doing well, Abhi. It sounds like you're doing well. But I have some news, Abhi. Okay, we haven't brought this segment out for a hot minute, Abhi, and it's a damn shame because we have some new countries, Abhi. Woo!
Yay! Wow.
Guys, we have a real global community. At this point, we're so gosh darn close to conquering the entire world, Abhi. We have most countries at this point. We've done a damn good job, and the BTM Legion has actually risen our flag across most continents. I think we have every single continent except for Antarctica now.
Great. We just got to contact base camp down there and.
Do we have one Eskimo friend, like one Inuit person?
Come on,
that
man!
We can
Eskimos
contact?
are North Pole.
Oh, they are. I have no idea. Aren't penguins also only in Antarctica? There's no penguins in the Arctic?
That's correct, right? Because penguins live in Antarctica, at least from what I from what I remember. But Eskimos are a very northern hemisphere thing. Yeah.
Well, you learn something new every day, Abhi. Thank you for that. But I'm gonna fire off the first country, Abhi. I was hoping we can kind of just ping pong this. Okay, first one, Anguilla. I think that's how you pronounce that one. I have no idea. Where's the country of Anguilla? Did you just make that up and throw that in there?
I think it's like an Australian territory. But yeah, I did not make this up.
Okay. Because that's not in the Americas. That's not in South America.
No, I don't think so. I think it's in one. I think it's either a Micronesian country or maybe it's just somewhere in the Pacific. It's I do know Australia has staked their claim to it, but that's about it.
Okay. Avi,
Oh,
what
we
else
got
we
the
got?
Bahamas, so I'm pretty excited about that one. That's
Yeah, imagine someone who's just chilling at the beach, sipping an ice cold, something from a coconut. You know what I mean? Just listening to me ramble on about sadomasochism. I probably just ruined someone's vacation. Av, now here's a good one. Okay, we're sticking to the island theme. And Av, I'm not sure if you've made this one. This sounds like a Zelda Breath of the Wild location. Okay, because we have Isle of Man. You're telling me there's a country called Isle of Man?
I don't know if the Isle of Man is actually a country. I think the analytics platform that we have just kind of anything that's like its own territory is counted. But okay. I think it's more fun.
Wait, so we officially denounced the sovereign nature of the Isle of Man?
I like to think that the Isle of Man is a thing, and it's like it's where all of our preconceptions about masculinity came from.
You just go there. There's just a bunch of dudes voting. There's just a bunch of I don't know, weightlifters and I don't know, all these traditional beliefs about masculinity just being.
Oh well, I thought of it as more like worldly. Actually, I think of it as like every version of masculinity exists there. Like not just traditional masculinity, like not just our usual and not just like toxic versions of masculinity, but also like maybe like more less accepted versions of masculinity, or just kind of everything.
I thought that maybe that's the Isle of Men. The Isle of Men also sounds like a strip club. I know you and I have thought about the Australian stripper troupe, the Thunder Down Under, during the Australian wildfires. I know you were really bummed about that. Slice of the whole tragedy. Yeah. But the Isle of Men sounds like a rival troupe. Like they're like some Pacific Islanders who are just freaking ripped out of their mind. Okay. Anyway, next up we have Iraq.
Yeah.
Woo!
No, that's cool. We got
to the Middle East.
We got our friends in the Middle East. We got a lot. I'm pretty sure we have a lot of people in our Discord from the Middle East. I think we got Yemen was actually one of our very first countries. We had Qatar pretty early on, Saudi Arabia.
But now we have also, sticking to the Middle East theme, Trinidad.
And Tobago.
Well.
Wait, is that...
I have no idea what... Tobago, that sounds like where the first toboggan was ever crafted.
Right, in the
but surely there's no snow.
In the tropical climate.
There's no snow in Tobago. That's what people say. They say, you'll beat me the moment it snows in Tobago. It's like when pigs will fly. When it snows in Tobago. It's a very common adage in the Isle of Man.
I'll take your word for it and never use it. This is the Isle
All right,
of
but
Man.
guys, thank you. Despite where you may be living in the world, thank you so much for tuning in, listening, watching us on YouTube. It's fun. It's definitely one fun part of it. AV is learning, the context with which people are enjoying this hobby we all share. So thanks for listening, guys. And look, hey, if you're listening to this right now and you feel the competitive urge in your belly or somewhere else on your body, erogenous or otherwise, if you feel this sort of severe need to exert your skill to earn glory, well, God damn it, AV, do I have an opportunity for you? That's going to be at BTM Face Off 6, August 9th.
I had no idea where you're going.
About 1 week out, 1 week and some change from the time this podcast gets released, we will be having an awesome Smash tournament. It's a Wi-Fi tournament. We're all still quarantining. Maybe if you live in Trinidad and Tobago, you can hop in. Might be some latency, but I'm not stopping you. And the thing about this tournament, guys, is there's no cash reward. Okay, I'm not exactly selling this bad boy. The issue is, whenever we do a cash reward, like an eShop gift receipt, what happens is like some jacked up Terry from Quebec just enters the tournament and just sharks the damn thing, and the dude doesn't even like listen to the podcast, or he's not part of the community, and but he just wants to collect some cash. Which, hey, I don't blame him for trying to enter. You know, they win it legitimately, but the thing is, this is supposed to be sort of a celebration of skill, a fun opportunity to just earn some glory, and hopefully to keep it within the community. So don't necessarily share this link, but if you're listening, the link will be in the show notes and the YouTube description, as well as in the Discord server, AV. AV, you want to tell them about the Discord server? Yeah, sure thing.
So we got what is probably the best Smash Discord in existence, and we don't say it lightly.
Yeah.
I mean, we may not we may not have margaritas at every channel.
We do.
Oh, we do now. Is that a new addition? You added that in there? You have your.
I no that guy from the Isle of Man joined it. He was like, "Look, back at the Isle, all us men get a little tipsy, turny topside, and we just start dripping margaritas out of various spouts." And yeah, so yeah. Margaritas are abound.
Our one listener from the Isle of Man is just gonna give us all kinds of corrections. And we're not going to hear any of it. We like our idea of what the Isle of Man is, but
people at the Isle of Man are hot. Like, there's no way. Like, if you go to like like a little cocktail party, and you overhear someone say, "Oh yes, I'm from the Isle of Man," get ready just to turn around and see some tan, chiseled up, pronounced jawline, or some sort of voluptuous hourglass lady who was about 6'10", kind of Amazonian almost, like Wonder Woman, with a margarita in hand, ready to go.
So if you ever wanted to experience that, come to our Discord channel, and you'll experience what it's like to be on the Isle of Man sipping margaritas with Peon, and you can also play Wi-Fi friendlies with us. You can talk to us about introspection, your gameplay, upgrading yourself, and your ability to play Super Smash Brothers. If you don't, and the thing is that we're a kind, loving, inclusive community, and if you just want to come to hang out, we would love to have you. So stop on by. You can find the link to our Discord not only on our tournament page, which will also be in the description, but we'll also directly link you to our Discord in the description.
Awesome. And lastly, guys, look, man, we all know times is tough around the world right now. And look, if you take a look at my Wells Fargo checking account, you'll really know times is tough. You see, AV said, "Peon, I went to college. How about we put all your money in oil?" Of course, he said this back in February, and now all my commodities, all my barrels are worth $-, AV. I didn't know there were $. Who's on that coin? Okay.
It's like anti-Hamilton, or
Who's anti-Hamilton? What are you talking about?
It's like the antimatter version of Alexander.
Oh, like anti. I thought you were saying anti, no. like your uncle and your auntie.
No, anti.
I was like, did Alexander Hamilton have like an aunt who just hated money or something? Anyway, yeah, guys, if you do, jokes aside, if you do want to support us on Patreon, our link's in the description and the show notes as well. And it's just a good way to support the show directly. AV and I, we're not in this for the money. If we were, we wouldn't have started an introspectively minded Smash Bros podcast. But we do have a lot of costs on the show, and it helps us cover those costs. But you definitely get a great reward in return. We do make a podcast just for the patrons called Beyond the Metagame, where we talk about everything but Smash Bros. And we also have a bunch of other rewards on there, so it's definitely worth checking out. AV, this week, you and I mean, we've been rambling for quite a bit, but the objective of today's episode was to discuss sort of a check-in, a quarantine Smash check-in. When we last kind of talked about the fact that we were playing Smash in isolation, I don't think it was so apparent at the time that this was going to last a while. Like, this situation globally hasn't gotten much better in a lot of parts of the world, and the U.S. included, and California included. That's where you and I live. So I think it's worth checking in. What are our strategies as it relates to being a competitive Smash player moving forward? How are we coping with this weird time where we can't go to tournaments, but we still have that hunger, we still have that competitive urge? These are all topics I want to bring up with you and talk about in length. But before we do so, Abhi, do you have anything to add before we hop into this bad boy?
I just wanted to say the primary motivation behind why we wanted to talk about this was we felt like this was kind of like a checkpoint or some kind of midpoint in between when the quarantine started or when the coronavirus pandemic started and when I think things would start opening up. And whether or not that's true, we could look back 7 months from now and laugh at this intro, but it just feels like things are settling and we're kind of realizing that we need to accept this as our lives for the foreseeable future. So kind of a check-in made sense in terms of like, have we actually done that? Have we accepted the coronavirus into our life? And or are we just denying it and hoping that tomorrow we'll just see it disappear? And obviously that's pretty ridiculous. So I think this is going to be a really nice like fireside chat about like where we are in Smash and how we've been doing outside of the competitive realm.
Yeah, man, completely agree. So all that and more in just 1 second. Welcome back to Beyond the Metagame. This week, Abhi and I are talking about Smash in isolation, how we've been feeling as regards to playing Smash during a global pandemic. Now, Abhi, you and I have chosen Smash as one of our hobbies. I mean, I think we both kind of fell into it, but it is important to both of us. It's important to the listeners. And the one thing we all have in common is that the hobby that we participate in primarily and, the best way that it's experienced is in person, right? No lag. You have that face-to-face interaction. You get to have your local community. It's a wonderful ecosystem that we participate in. But we've been denied this privilege recently, and I don't think any of us would have ever considered that would be a possibility. And I want to talk about, first off, how is that affecting you? How are you holding up? Is it weird not having the option to go to tournaments? Do you miss anything in particular?
It's really interesting because right before all of this started, I had not really gone to a in-person tournament in a very long time. So it kind of just naturally flowed into this state. I think I'd been playing with people offline and I'd been practicing with some people from NorCal, but it's not like the coronavirus pandemic actually interrupted my ability to go to locals, and I think that's why this felt really natural for me in terms of like a progression, and it actually probably got me to care more about competing because it felt so much more accessible now that everything was from home and I didn't have to go and commit to staying really late at a local before a work day, which was really my previous issues with it. And now I can just, now because it's a huge equalizer and everyone's on the same playing field, I can just experience what the state of competitive Smash from my home.
Yeah, that is interesting. I had somewhat of a similar situation as you. I mean, I had been going up to tournaments before the pandemic started, but immediately before the pandemic really started, I started a job, and the job was great. I still work there. I got to work from home. I'm blessed that that's the case, but there was about a few weeks, a month where I didn't go to anything because I was working kind of late and I was adjusting to my new routine. And then I started going back to tournaments, and then I went to like 2 or 3, and then boom, pandemic. And I was really enjoying the fact that, okay, yay, like I've settled into my new job. Things are going great. I figured out how to allocate some time to make sure I can show up to some events, connect with some people, that are my age and have some fun. And yeah, so it really stung for me, I suppose, when all those locals closed down, and it was the right thing to do, obviously, but it still was like, oh man, that kind of sucks. And now, we're about 5 months into this. No, maybe like 4 months into this. I don't remember, something like that. A few months. And things are starting to settle. And I think what we all assumed would only last a couple months, at this point, it's sure that it's going to last at least quite a bit longer, at least in the States. And it's pretty depressing, I'm not going to lie. It's pretty upsetting in many ways. And I think that, it's sort of a first world problem to say, oh, wow, we can't do video game tournaments. This sucks. It's kind of a first world problem, right? There's much more horrible things happening. But at the same time, this hobby and participating in this hobby is a valuable exercise for people. It's a way to socialize. It's a lot of people's best friends. It's how a lot of people, assess themselves personally. They draw personal value from how they compete and their level of skill. And it's sort of an extension of their identity. It's something they're proud of. And it's kind of been plucked from them. And I want to talk about, AV, is there any silver lining initially? Now that this is the case, does this present any positive opportunities?
I'd say my silver lining is what I brought up initially. Honestly, and I feel like it's from a very selfish perspective, in the fact that I now practice the game a lot more because of our situation, and because it feels like I'm able to keep up with people rather than kind of just feeling like I need to be attending all of these local events and dedicating my time to driving out, spending the time waiting for matches, but the thing is that while this is a silver lining for me, I will have to address the bronze or rusted copper lining that we didn't get those social interactions anymore. I don't get to experience friendships. I don't get to experience actually going over matches with people in person, getting that instant feedback. And there is feedback. You can still talk to people online. You can still discuss. But it's different, right? You have to put everything is covered with this lens of Wi-Fi. Like, if something hit or if something didn't hit, or if something worked or if something didn't work, you can never be truly sure what that reason was. And because of that ambiguity, there is this innate lack of efficiency that comes with online practice. But
yeah. I'm just laughing because the other day I was recovering as Cloud. I had my double jump. I was at like 20%. I got like F smashed by a Bowser or something randomly at 20%. So, oh, geez. I was off stage, and then I went to like double jump back to stage, and the game just kind of like froze. It like just completely froze. There was a big lag spike. So something pulled my attention away. I saw a bug, or I kind of looked away. I looked back, and the game unfroze, and my Cloud was just. So I had fallen too low, and I died. And it's like, God damn it! Like, there's just a bunch of, and that was a really good competitive game. It was the last stock situation up until that point. The Bowser was at like 120. I was like on my way to victory. And, it's like, yeah, there's this big caveat of silver lining when it comes to online play. And I've been playing a lot of Melee Rollback, just the Slippy mod. And a lot of people have, I'm sure. A lot of people, I hop into that mod, and I'm sure a lot of listeners are playing it too, where maybe they're from an Ultimate background, but they're just playing it because it's something to do. And you either play against, like, Mango Jr. or a guy who plays Ultimate who just downloaded the mod. You know what I mean? Like, the skill range is so broad. But that feels so tight. It feels so responsive, and it's crazy going from that and going to Ultimate Online.
Is Melee your silver lining? Because that's the Sorry, because you described your experience with playing that Bowser as your silver lining, and that doesn't sound like a great experience. So
no, I didn't describe it as a silver lining. I was just adding on to the fact that like there's this caveat of like that I really win that game, that I lose that game. Everything that you do is through this lens of unreliability online, and there's. I mean, I think we're exaggerating a bit. Most games of Wi-Fi that are played, the winner outplayed the opponent, for sure. It's just a different meta. It really is. It really rewards more active hitboxes. It rewards projectiles. It rewards more set play. I think when we had Korean on the podcast, he described it well, where certain characters will benefit from the meta. And it's also just a kind of a different game. It's more about guessing correctly than it is reacting to things. And that's fine. It's still certainly playable. But maybe to your point, maybe Slippy is a silver lining. Like that mod couldn't have come out at a better time for the Smash community.
Yeah, I agree. And to also give another perspective is that there have been players that have been only playing Wi-Fi for their entire lives, and this experience probably seems like kind of like a second coming of Smash for them. It probably seems like a chance for them to basically show off their gameplay, show off who they are. It's like maybe they're too young and they aren't allowed to go to tournaments, or maybe they don't have the ability, the money, the opportunities, or they're not located close to anyone. In another way that Smash does, this environment has brought us all technically closer together.
Isn't that funny that like they say that the pandemics like this are the great equalizer, economically? It doesn't. The coronavirus does not choose whether you're poor or rich. It just attacks and spreads like wildfire. I don't want to talk about the thunder down under, AV. I see your eyes, and I'm thinking about it too. But the pandemic has no preferences. It just spreads. It penetrates. Right? And, whoa, so you're making me laugh because of your face. This isn't funny. If people watching the YouTube video can attest to AB's making me laugh. But I will say this. It is funny how, in the same way, it's equalized the Smash community. All the people who couldn't go to tournaments now can play. People that lived on the East Coast and on the West Coast, maybe you couldn't really face against your rival, in a tournament setting very often. Let's say like you play Cloud, there's this East Coast Cloud. You hate that bitch because your Cloud's better. It just is, and that the East Coast Cloud gets way too much hype. Well, now you could enter what is the most competitive option possible right now, which is a Wi-Fi tournament. It's the most legitimate thing that we have currently, and you can compete. And that's something where 6 months ago, that was a pretty big caveat. And there still is a bit of an asterisk, but at least given right now what's possible, you can compete. And that is kind of cool that it's equalized us in that way.
Right, because, you see, like you were talking about how you have all these people that can finally, like, prove that they are, like, expanding on my previous point. We also, like, see this very tangibly with like the new ranking, the Wi-Fi Warrior rankings that's coming out. Like,
I didn't see this.
That's been going on over the last few weeks. There's this like 1 to 100 like PGR-esque ranking where it just goes by Wi-Fi tournaments. And if I think back to before all of this, and I think to myself, if someone made a Wi-Fi Warrior ranking, which actually there were Wi-Fi Warrior rankings beforehand, but they were they weren't treated as really as legitimate, even though a lot of these players were good. I will acknowledge, I don't want to erase or kind of lessen the basically the accolades of these people that have played really well on Wi-Fi, but in general in the Smash public and the Smash media, it wasn't really taken seriously. But now it's like a serious thing. It's like because like you said, it is the most competitive thing. So I think those are some positives that we've experienced, and I guess the real question is that have you entered any Wi-Fi tournaments, and do would you want to do so? And are you going to, now that we've established that we're settling into this routine, do you think that you are going to enter Wi-Fi tournaments to scratch that competitive itch?
Yeah, so I have entered only one Wi-Fi tournament, and you know, I have to say I didn't really enjoy it very much. You know, I don't really like, it's this weird sort of, and I don't blame, it's not because it was a tournament. It's just because the tournament that I entered, I didn't really, there was no sort of community around it. There was no sort of context. It was just a random tournament. And I entered it, and it was fine. It was fun, but I just, something about, me just being alone in my room with no noise, no chatter, no stream. It just sort of, I don't know if it just didn't do anything for me. I'd rather just kind of
right,
quick play and just like
you're someone that like plays off of the noise and the hype. Like you love that. You kind of like ride that wave of excitement, right? That's like a huge plus for you.
I like the event. You know, if you like, you remember? Oh man, I'm about to throw a certain northwestern state under the bus again.
No!
You remember Genesis 7 AV? I sit down. Okay, I sit down. It's my round 2 winner's side, and I hear this little chirp into my ear. This little Tweety bird AV, and he says, "Yeah, wow, this guy that your friend's playing against, he got way underseeded. He's the number 1 player in all of Wyoming." And in my head, I'm like, God damn it! Like, this guy is some hidden boss. He's like the leader of his own dojo. You know what I mean? He's like this god that's worshipped in this like state. I'm like, oh no, man, this is a total unknown. And then I just brutally 6-stock him. and it's because it's like, when I get that adversity, that context, when I see that their friend is watching, and I'm in this big old arena with thousands of people.
That's
my
so
juices
brutal.
get flowing. I deliver. I want to rip his heart out and eat it on the stage. When I'm alone in my room and I'm just like, it doesn't feel like a tournament to me. But again, it would if there was this greater context. If there was an entrance fee, perhaps. If there was, if I knew other people that were entering the tournament, we were kind of talking in the Discord or something while it was going on. I think I could have framed it in a way that would make me feel like it was more of a competitive thing. But I just couldn't be bothered, frankly. Now, that said, I'm going to be competing in the BTM Face-Off 6 tournament that we have. And I'm excited about that because I know a lot of the players in the community. I'll be streaming it myself. So there will be a lot of context to it. I think it'll be really fun. But if it, that's my take on Wi-Fi tournaments in general is that they're not fun unless you have some other factors around them. You have to get yourself in that competitive mindset, and I think it's hard to when you're just sitting at home and you're not talking to anyone. I could play competitive games online with teammates really well because I'm talking. We're in Discord. You like Counter-Strike, StarCraft. I play a lot of StarCraft, like 2v2 and 3v3s. We're yelling, oh, go attack him. But when I'm just alone sitting there, I don't know. It doesn't get me going, AV.
Yeah. It doesn't really get me going either. I do like the lack of distraction because I'm like very much the opposite. I love silence when I play competitively, and it's like I'm in my most optimal state when there's no one watching, and or if they are watching, I like pretty much don't know they're there because they're quiet, and my opponent is like super reserved. Like the moment that so in theory this environment would be good for me. But it doesn't feel competitive. It feels like I'm just doing this like tournament in my bedroom. It feels like it I like the separation. I think that's the most important thing for me. So in theory, this should be good for me. This should be an environment that I excel in. But the lack of separation, similarly to how a lot of people are feeling that if they work in their room or they're working from home in their room, some may be feeling that there's this lack of separation between their work and the rest of their life. And I feel a very similar way when I try to contextualize competitive Smash from the same place that I live in. And I think that's actually a huge thing for me. And that's why I have also entered two online tournaments. I will I will say I had a good time in terms of the fact that I think the events were really well run. It was run by Contrast Gaming, which is some of the people from our Discord. We do love them, and so Booney, who runs Contrast Gaming, and Ferris did a great job of running the tournament. Ferris, shout out to him, also helps us run our tournaments. So
yeah,
he's absolutely
very good looking too, which is crazy.
Yeah,
he looks just like he hails from the Isle of Man.
I'll have to ask him for his margarita recipe. So, but, yeah, it's like I think even though the events were extremely well run, there was still I didn't feel the same. I felt a lot more. I felt like my mentality was like kind of unstable. It was weird. Like I felt like in some ways, you could always like do the thing where you don't take responsibility for your own play, and I just had to do a really good job of like settling around that. I had to actively tell my brain to not try to justify my losses based off of some outside thing, and just take the L, internalize it, review the VODs, and look at what I can do. Look at what I can do better later. And it's so hard. It is so hard.
Dude, I'm with you. Like, there's so much bullshit on Wi-Fi. Let's be honest. I mean, Wi-Fi, there's a lot of things about it. Lag spikes, whether it be Nintendo's fault, whether it be that your opponent doesn't have a LAN adapter, whether it be just the meta of Smash Online is just kind of different. And it's really hard to adjust to in a lot of ways. There's a lot of stuff that, it's kind of, that makes it not the most optimal thing in the world. I won't sugarcoat it. But you're right in the sense that it's an opportunity to really swallow some humble pie. Like, if you ever want to build some mental resilience, if you ever wanted to gain some accountability towards your play, enter some online tournaments. I guarantee you're going to be exercising that muscle in your brain. Which, I mean, look, I say that in jest, but it's true. And there are a lot of positive lessons to be learned, through that ecosystem. So that's definitely some silver lining, I'd say.
And I think we kind of ended at a good point in terms of I think there's a lot of positive stuff to take away from this. The negative stuff is just so obvious that I think it's just not worth focusing on. I think we just want to be productive with what we're given. We'll play the hand that we're dealt, and it could be worse. It could be worse. I mean, considering how bad Nintendo's online is, it could be a lot better. But
I thought you were gonna be positive.
Okay, look, it's just I fell back into it. All right, back in. All right, rewind. Play the hand that we're dealt. We'll be positive. Yeah. We'll be productive. There's no point. If you want to complain about Nintendo's online, go be that one person that mods it themselves. I mean, it took one person to write net play for Melee. So I think if someone wants to create a mod, I'm sure that would be literally the most game changing thing to Smash Ultimate that would ever be done. And I think something that I really want to go to is how we've improved at the game and what we've changed about our gameplay, because I know I've changed a lot of stuff, and I've been practicing way more than I ever did before quarantine, and I kind of want to start it off by asking you what you've changed and where you've been going, what your goals are right now, and how you've taken this time to recontextualize your play.
Absolutely. Well, one thing about Wi-Fi, and I preach this since the very beginning of this podcast, is that one of the best things about Wi-Fi is that it allows you to learn the game. You can learn, look, even MK Leo, Tweak, the best of the best, don't know everything about every character. There's so many characters, there's so many weird interactions, there's so many matchups, that just putting time behind the sticks with an academic mindset, being a student of the game, will give you some pretty tangible, immediate results. I mean, I see stuff almost every time I put a long session in where I'm like, oh, whoa, that does that, or oh, that was a weird interaction, or where I learn little things. So I've been putting a lot of time into a lot of different characters with the mindset of being a true academic. Just trying to learn things, learn some combos. And I've been doing this deliberately. So, for instance, we have a Patreon student, Abhi. You and I at the highest Patreon tier, we give people lessons and sessions, and we really work with people on a one-on-one basis to coach them, right? And one of our newest patrons, his name's Aaron Ampersand, plays Rob, and I hate Rob. I hate fighting against Rob. I don't like playing as Rob. But because he played Rob, I really wanted to take a deep dive in, okay, what does a Rob player do? What are they looking for? What's the mindset of a Rob player? So I was going into quick play as Rob, really trying to understand on a more deep basis than I ever had before. Okay, what the hell is Rob looking for at any one point? And what do Robs hate when you do it against them, and what do they love? And just trying to really understand, trying to get in the skin of a man who mains Rob. And it's been great. I really feel like I understand that character a lot more than I did a month ago, per se. And I think now is the best time ever to really investigate the roster.
Yeah, I can't agree more, honestly. I've experienced so many different matchups. I've developed so many different matchups a lot differently than I did offline, because when you go to your local, an effect that I didn't realize that was happening is that you tend to play with the same people over and over again, because there's people you go there and you're like, oh, I love hanging out with you. That's my boy.
Yeah.
Like, you love playing with the same people over and over again. I see people from NorCal. They're at Genesis. They're at the biggest super major in all of Smash, and they're playing friendlies with their friends that they play friendlies with every single day.
Yeah.
And it's like you have there's this innate like comfort to playing the same people over and over again. And you don't really have that comfort. I mean, you can fall into a similar thing in terms of you can play the same people on Wi-Fi over and over again, but it's really awesome actually to be able to just get immediate access to the entire world. You get immediately access to like the entire BTM community, for example, where I've learned so many different matchups. I'd say that if I didn't really have access to the BTM community, I wouldn't really know the Palutena matchup that well. Like, we have some fantastic Palutena players. We have Evan and Cap, which are who are both really good at the character. I've learned so much about the matchups. I learned so much about playing against Captain Falcon from people like Wuston. And the thing is that there's so many of these matchups that I definitely never played offline because I was so used to playing the same people over and over again. So I think it's been amazing for what you said about just being an academic and actually diving into what it takes to either win a matchup or realizing I think I need another character for this matchup, because I'm starting to believe myself that Ultimate is very much a game where you do need a secondary. So that's something that I've been able to develop offline, online as well.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, man, and I like what you said about how you have access to everyone. Wi-Fi. It's a beautiful thing that you can just play against any character you want at any time, and if you never don't know a matchup, right? If let's say a year from now when this whole thing blows over, and you're at a tournament, and you don't feel comfortable in the matchup at all, you just don't know what to do against X character. Well, you have to look at the man in the mirror and blame yourself for that, because right now, if you are focused on improving at Smash, that's a really good thing to be working on. And that's pretty cool. I will say, I mean, it's kind of mandated, but now we have no excuse not to learn more about it.
Is that where the word mandate came from? The Isle of Man?
I didn't see that coming. I really should have. Yeah, man. I know that you've been picking up Roy and Crom recently, AV, which, look, man, it annoys me. It's a pet peeve. I love you like a gosh darn brother. Okay, like from one man.
I think I know what's coming.
But you talk about Donkey Kong like every day. It's like, dude, shut up. We know you play Donkey Kong. Every single interview we ever have, I think you've told the guest. And by the way, I played Donkey Kong. And it's like, okay, if no one needs to, like Dr. Kate McGee is just trying to fix our hands. She doesn't care about your ding dongs and your winky wanks or whatever.
That sounds terrible.
Wait, winky wank? Yeah, that doesn't sound good. I was maybe this ding dong out of context.
Did you know like the DK community actually is pretty much like outlawed the phrase ding dong because it sounds so ridiculous and it makes her character seem ridiculous. So the appropriate phrase is DKO instead of ding dong. I know it's stupid, which is why I don't. I mean, the thing is that I respectfully call it that in the Discord, but outside of that, I know how ridiculous it is, so I'm very self-aware about how silly it is. So I'll always call it. I'll never move from calling it ding dong. Yeah.
Yeah. You have to make it at least like another hostess treat. Ding dong from ho ho, maybe like I don't know. Wait, what are some other hostess treats? The Twinkie, call it the Twinkie, but I think that has a. I can't think of any other hostess treats.
Snowballs. That's
oh, like there you go. Call it the snowball.
That's like the plot of Zombieland.
What is a snowball?
I'm just gonna spoil Zombieland.
Is that where Jesse Eisenberg and is like, or is that Jesse Eisenberg or is that the guy from Juno, who's
Dude,
like really shy?
What?
Who's the guy? Yeah, talking about the guy who looks like Jesse Eisenberg. He's like really nice.
I know who you're talking about. But
who is that? I'm looking up.
I love
Cera,
Michael Cera. Right. Yeah. Michael Cera is such a present to this world.
Has he done anything recently?
I don't know.
What the heck, dude? I'm looking at his Wikipedia. You'll never guess where he's from.
Where? Oh, don't do that.
No. Anyway, so I was roasting you for talking about Donkey Kong so much, but this is relevant because you haven't been playing Donkey Kong. You've been quite angsty, you've been quite emo about the character recently, saying things like, wow, I'm really sick of that kind of bottom tier mentality where I go into a match expecting to lose on paper. And I think you were sort of implying that you didn't like winning because you felt like the other person didn't know the matchup. Like you just wanted to you didn't want to bring a knife to a gunfight per se. Is that, tell me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I've gone, there were kind of like a few stages to this, like a few psychological stages. I think that initially I was just kind of sick of not having safe options in neutral. Because I mean a lot of people don't know this, but the biggest disadvantage Donkey Kong has outside of his disadvantage, but is the fact that a lot of his stuff is just simply not safe on hit until a really high percent where it doesn't really matter. And so neutral at the beginning of the game is very, very difficult. And you can just and because he's so comboable, because you see him featured in so many combo videos, and so many, and there's so many true strings that exist on him and K. Rool that don't exist on like pretty much 95% of the cast. This is actually really important because at these low percents, that's where all of these big combos are true. That's where all of these big combos are starting. So people's combo starters you get true combo starters off of Donkey Kong hitting you. Right, and that seems very counterintuitive. So it was kind of frustrating, and it was a little weird. But I understand. I had to go through kind of a few stages of this. So I picked up Crom, right? So I was like, I'm used to dying at 0, and Crom dies at 0 a lot because his recovery is really exploitable. So maybe I'll just pick a character that's like has better neutral tools and lots of safe kill options. But also has this like risk reward mentality that I'm used to having, and then I was like, wait, I don't want to be dying like this all the time. So and I could go a little higher on the tier without changing my character too much, so I switched over to Roy. And the funny part is, you were roasting me for this earlier too. You were saying, "Oh, I went through the same thing. I went from Crom, I went to Roy, and then I dropped Roy." And
yeah, no, this is the common thing. It's like wow, Crom's pretty cool. Oh, but I think I like Roy a little more. And then next week they're playing like Jigglypuff or something. It's like, I don't know what it is, but I've seen it before.
And the thing is, I look forward to getting roasted if I do drop this character. But I'm having a lot of fun, honestly. Like, I mean, you and I were playing earlier, and we're having some pretty competitive games. And the thing is that like, I do like how this character complements Donkey Kong, and I think that being able to like unleash this like safe aggression is something I don't really get as Donkey Kong. You have to play a little more reserved and then kind of just explode out of nowhere, and just it's a whole different style of play, and it complements it not only matchup wise but also play style wise. So it allows me to kind of do an extra layer of switch up on people. So I don't want to say that I'm down on Donkey Kong, because I mean everyone will know that I will never stop playing that character.
We know.
Yeah,
Dr. Kate McGee knows. I know.
Yeah.
Michelle Obama knows. Michael Cera knows. The entire Isle of Man knows. Maybe we know. Yeah. Okay, dude.
It's like, it reminds me of that meme. It's like the Jimmy Neutron meme. Like, AV, this is the 7th time you've shown Donkey Kong in class. Like.
It's like that one meme where the guys like super passionately explain to that hot girl at a baseball park, and like people just put in their own text like, "We see, Donkey Kong's best combos are a dash attack into IRA backer. It's actually quite a technical character," and the girl's like just looking disinterested.
That's
like, okay.
That's
that's me. I'm the girl, and you're the guy who's super passionate about Donkey Kong.
Look, man, you gotta care about something, and I do care about DK. And the thing is that I think that he's a fantastic character. I had a really long conversation with someone from our Discord about this, and I was talking about how Donkey Kong is not a traditional character on the tier list. I think he transcends the tier list. This is gonna be a really interesting take.
Donkey Kong transcends the tier list is the most AV thing. It's like if you were to just pick one sentence that describes you, for better or worse, that would be it.
All right. Well, I'm gonna explain why. And as I have to be a little self-aware that is the most AV thing. That is the most on-brand sentence I could give you as a voice bite. But here's why. I think a character like Donkey Kong works really well against certain playstyles, and it works really well against certain people who are not ready for like what makes Donkey Kong good. A lot of the aggression and a lot of the stuff that he's able to output, and it's not in the standard way where like it's not in the standard way where it's like surprising someone with a low tier, because that's just matchup inexperience. It's more in the way that he has a lot of really good tools on paper. He has a fantastic punish game, right? So it can just explode people out of nowhere if they're not ready for it. And there's certain people who, if you don't have your punish game on perfectly on lock, you will just get blown up by this character. And that's why I think that he's more of a playstyle counter than he is really a traditional secondary. And I think that's what actually makes him a lot more lethal and a lot more scary, is because you can bring him out as a playstyle counter rather than just like a simple like secondary counter. And once I kind of realized that, once I got to that point, it made me actually more excited about the character. It made me more excited about DK and developing DK, because I think that he does have a place in the meta, and especially if in the next 5 patches that we're going to be blessed with, if he does get changes, I think that he'll settle into a really nice spot as that kind of like orthogonal to the tier list, or perpendicular to the tier list. Like he doesn't care about the tier list. He just cares. It's like if you mess something up, he messes you up. And that's
yeah.
And thank you for like listening to my rant about Donkey Kong.
And this was AV's TED Talk. No, so here's the thing. You talked to me about how DK is, you don't like playing on Wi-Fi as much as you feel like it's just kind of cheap. Like he just gets away with a lot of stuff that he normally wouldn't. And that made me think about a lot of people who main a character, but they don't love how that character's playstyle works on Wi-Fi. I hear a lot of Fox mains complain about this. I hear a lot of like Sheik players. I certainly felt this way when I was an Inkling main. That Inkling online is just a completely different character. I know like a lot of Inkling players have said that. And it is weird because now it's like, okay, if you main one character in a world where there's no pandemic, you can still play other characters online as much as you want, but in person, just focus on practice on one other character that you don't like the online playstyle of. You'll be fine. You'll still have that nice and tuned up. But in a world where we really don't have in-person tournaments, is it worth spending time playing a character who you prefer in LAN but hate playing on Wi-Fi? And that's a weird sort of concept that I've been struggling with. For instance, I've made my conclusion, and I'd say no. I'd say it's not worth it. That's part of the reason why I now would say I've dropped Inkling, because I just can't do it online, man. She's just too different. She isn't the playstyle I like. Just isn't. You just can't really do it. You can't react and outframe people and get people in these big old combos. It's just harder to juggle people with her up air. Her kill confirm is really, her up throw up air is like impossible to hit on Wi-Fi with any sort of consistency.
Yeah.
So, I was like, screw it, and I wonder how many people are all in a similar situation where they're gonna have to make some tough decisions about what characters they invest time into, given the unclear present and future of this.
I think there's
esport.
really good empirical evidence for you dropping Inkling. I mean, consider like the best Inkling player in the world, Cosmos. He is playing, like, a majority of his games are played with Corrin now, who got a nice suite of changes after the last patch. And if you're dropping Inkling, which is theoretically like posed as this top tier, high tier character, for Corrin, who was before the buffs considered like a low tier, maybe now like a respectable mid tier, mid high tier. Everyone's a mid tier in this game, but it's like, it's really telling that this character just can't fight with the best on Wi-Fi.
Yeah, and that's my advice to people too, is like, if you don't like playing a character on Wi-Fi, just don't do it. Just don't do it. We don't know how long we're going to be in this mess. And if you're like, man, I love this character, but I hate their playstyle on Wi-Fi, just put it in the pocket. Bust it out against some CPUs, or if you have a friend or family member that you do see on a regular basis that you can play in person with, then whip it out and just sharpen it up there. Keep it tournament ready. But my God, don't trudge through the mud if you don't have to. It's not worth it.
Absolutely.
And I would also extend that advice to other games as well. I think right now, if you're a diehard Smasher and you just like competitive video games, and Smash is your favorite one, but like, now's a really good time to play some games that have better online. If you ever want to get into Melee, Slippy is an awesome tool that allows you to do so. And there's a bunch of guides online to do so. But man, there's just a lot of other games that I think can help you bide your time until you can play Smash the way that you like it. And that's, again, if you're someone who just doesn't like playing online. I don't want to ignore that that's actually a pretty significant portion of the community, I think, AB. I think most people are content with playing online if it means they're still going to play Smash. But there's a lot of people who hate it. Maybe their internet connection's just not very good. They're in the middle of nowhere. They're on their parents' Wi-Fi. They're young, and their parents... my girlfriend... I have a little anecdote. So I was over at my girlfriend's house, and they were looking at Airbnbs. They wanted to go take a little trip. And they see on one of the Airbnbs, as advertised, download speeds up to 200 megabits down. And 200 megabits down is not a bad speed. It's quite fast. Right. But my girlfriend's father was acting as if this was like some propane, nitrous oxide, like the most high efficient. And he's like, how is this possible? And he's like, Dane, can you believe this, man? He knows I'm into tech and things like that. He's, Dane, can you believe that? 200. You couldn't even use that if you tried. And so I'm kind of like laughing at myself because, I know that he just doesn't really know what's going on. And so I'm like, his name's Troy. I'm like, hey, Troy, what's their download speeds at? And it's not like their house of 5 people. My girlfriend has 2 sisters. They have like 15 down.
Oh, God.
So it's like the type of situation where if like more than one person's watching Netflix, it just doesn't work. And I've been at their house sometimes, like trying to watch a Smash tournament on Twitch or something. Just can't watch it. It's awful. Anyway, he asked me, so Dave, what's your download speed at? And AV, I have a gigabit down. You know, I mean, we work with large files. I need to have good internet, so I have 1,000 down. And he's like, what? Like freaking out. And I thought that was so funny. But we're also in Northern California where there's a lot of really great and affordable internet options. A lot of people don't, man. Even on Wi-Fi, even on wired internet, you know, some people just have bad internet. And for all those people, it's like, you know, I wouldn't force it. If you don't have fun playing Smash online, just either reframe it in such a way where you're okay with the end result not going in your favor, and you just like are being an academic student of the game, try to learn as much as possible. If you can reframe it like that and have a good time, that's amazing. That's the best possible scenario. But if it still isn't fun for you, now's the time to, like, I don't know, play Donkey Kong Country 2 for the SNES. Just play some single player games and have fun.
Tropical Freeze. Yeah.
Yeah, AV, have you played that game
no,
yet?
I do want to though. Donkey Kong
Dude,
Frozen
if you
8.
stream that, I guarantee. Donkey reference. If you play that game, I swear you'll have a good time. I'll bet one large sum of money. I'll bet all my oil commodities.
That will lose me money. Yeah, I see what you're doing. I see. All right, got you. I see.
Come on.
Trust me.
I was betting negative amounts of money.
Yeah, I all of my brains comes back when I'm thinking about my own money.
AV, I made a genie reference in this podcast. As an Indian man, do people ever like say Aladdin jokes to you if they're mad at you? Like, is that like a point of?
Yeah, not really. I mean, I was Aladdin for 2 years in a row on Halloween, so it kind of played into the stereotype. And it's funny because Aladdin is this kind of catch-all, like South Asian, Middle Eastern thing. Like they were like, we can't possibly spend the budget on 2 different films featuring Middle Eastern and Indian / Pakistani people, so we have to just include them all in one. In one, because you can see this because like a lot of the culture is super mixed. It's like it's just kind of like a mix of all of them, and the city that they're in is called Agrabah, which is like a mix of like the Indian city of Agra and like Baghdad. So it's like it's really interesting. So it is funny. It is funny how so many people can be called Aladdin. Like so many different people. If you want to stereotype someone, it kind of covers all of your bases in terms of Asian people.
Yeah. Well, I played high school basketball, and one of my teammates was Indian. One of my good friends as well. And it's weird that it's sort of like. Whenever there's like sports, this happens in Smash 2 at majors or certainly like in Twitch chat, where there's this sort of dehumanization when there's competition involved. Like in high school, especially high school sports, at least in my town, it was extremely passionate, and like the entire student body would show up to go to these basketball games, and the enemy team or opposing team, I suppose enemy is sort of a gamer term. The opposing team's crowd, especially if it was an away game, like we were playing at their gym, was often very brutal, very savage. Like I'd be inbounding the ball, and I would hear like, "Stupid ginger, where's your sunscreen, bitch?" Like all this stuff. And it was kind of funny.
Stuff, dude. That's ridiculous.
Well, yeah, you just have to have thick skin. You know, it's just part of it, and it's part of the culture. I don't think it's necessarily a good thing, but I thought it was kind of funny. You know, I talked about ripping a man's heart out earlier. I kind of like that sort of environment to compete in. But anyway, one of my teammates was Indian, and that's every single game we were at an opposing person's gym. It was like, oh, Aladdin, all this stuff, like talking smack.
I feel like it's kind of a compliment. Aladdin's he's like a good-looking, sly dude. I mean, he tricks his way into becoming a king. I feel like that's not like.
Yeah, he's pretty cool.
A cool character.
He's pretty cool.
I mean, granted, he's not from like the there's like a lot of things that you could improve about that movie, but I feel like that's not the worst thing in the world.
But if people called me Leprechaun, which
that's
also
bad.
happens.
Yeah.
Leprechauns are kind of cool. They have gold. They have pots of gold. They have rain. They travel.
But aren't
on
they
rainbows.
like traditionally like
cool.
these like troll-like figures that are just like that kind of are miserable and are here to trick you and hurt you or something?
Yeah. I have no idea. You think I know based on my appearance, but no idea. AV, we're rambling, man. But you know who else is rambling? The homies from the Discord, okay? Always here to save us when we need them most, okay, man? We're answering some questions. And I realize the past couple of episodes I haven't really talked about how you could ask us questions. To do so, you have to go to podcast-questions in the Discord server and type up a question, and we'll answer it here. AV, the first one comes from Normal. And Normal asks, hey, I feel like my tech skill is pretty good and my movement is solid, but I have trouble focusing on my opponent and what they are doing. What is the best way to train myself to watch my opponent instead of rushing in without paying attention? If it helps, I'm a Pokemon trainer main. Also, can we get the Pit versus Sheik match we promised in the low tier episode? Thanks. Oh man.
Yeah, we do.
That's true.
Well, I guess we have new YouTube content that we can put on our channel. Yeah, I guess we'll that will come soon. TM. So you are a Pokemon trainer main. Now this means that you already have 3 different characters to focus on yourself. So the fact that you contextualized that was actually pretty important, because it's not like you're playing Ike or maybe Donkey Kong or Bowser, a character that's kind of streamlined for you and that's designed for you to look at the other person and focus on the other person. You're playing a character that requires a lot of technical and mind and decision considerations. There's a lot of things to take in. There's a lot of options you can possibly choose. So you can get caught in this option paralysis really easily. And the thing is that when you have to accept that when you're playing an extremely complex character, that this is one of the things that comes with it. And over time, once you get used to using your most your best options, and once you kind of figure out what your best options for each situation is, you kind of figure out your own version of PT, because everyone has a different version. Some people like Ivysaur more, some people spend way too much time on Charizard. You have that's why this character is super cool, is because you have so many different ways you can approach it. And the thing is, once you kind of lock into your version of PT, which is going to take you much longer, like maybe 3, 4, 5 times as long as maybe as maybe a player who plays a more simpler character does. I think that's when you'll really try to find it. And if I were to offer you some basic advice, it would be to try and like lock down these things that you find are optimal, these things that you find are comfortable, and start locking these things down so that when it comes down to game time, when it comes to crunch time, you're not spending time thinking about it, and you kind of have these options that you already know that you're going to go for. So like make your life a little easier, especially if you want to try focusing on the other person, and don't get caught in the option paralysis of this very complex character.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you said, AB. One thing I would add is that, I think even really good players will find themselves looking at their character sometimes in moments where they're shooken up or where they're not feeling super confident. They'll be doubling down like, hey, if they're second guessing themselves, they'll be focused more on their own actions than their opponents. And so, I think, this is always going to be something that you're going to be wrestling with. I don't think this ever goes away. But I think that you have to just the only way to establish confidence is to try and then to succeed, to practice it and to have practice where you came out on top. You have to earn confidence. It doesn't just happen. So I would say just go into matches, think to yourself, I'm going to stare at my opponent the entire time. And you might lose a couple games. You might miss input more than you normally would. But when you do succeed, you'll be really positively reinforcing this confidence in yourself and in your movement, and it'll be productive.
Yeah, I love that. I love that active advice that you can give. Like you always give these little challenges that help you grow as a person. I really like that take on improving. I remember like sometimes you tell people like treat the game as if you need to get a 3 stock, or like kind of play these kind of mini games with with yourself to kind of help you improve different parts of your play. I love that. Let's go on to the second question. This is going to be from Bodity 77. Bodity asks, I've got a question. How do you improve your relationship with the game? I love the game and enjoy playing it, but whenever I want to start a play session, I get nervous, and whenever I'm playing, I can't stop. I'm always losing. If I'm losing, I always feel as though I can make an adjustment and win back my GSP next game. And if I'm winning, I feel as though I'm on top of the world and want to keep dominating. I always want just one more game until it's 3 a.m. and I work in the morning. This isn't helped by general competition nerves, even when just playing online. How can you help Bodity or Peon?
Yeah, Bodity. So it sounds like when you win, you just can't stop playing. And when you lose, you just can't stop playing. It sounds like you just love the game. But the way you frame this question, how do I improve your relationship with the game, indicates that you're not content with this current arrangement. You feel like maybe there's this dependency to the game. Maybe, it almost sounds to me like it's like you're a gambler, Bodity, where the potential for defeat, the potential for loss, triggers that fight or flight response, which is extremely addictive. It's a lot of dopamine. It's like you see the jungle, you see the tiger in the middle of the jungle, and this might be your last couple of minutes. So your body's going to be pumping up the adrenaline. You're going to be active, and that's a lot of dopamine. That's a lot to take to the brain, and that's what competitive competition does to us, right? We're about to lose. We have everything on the line, and then we win, and it's that sweet relief. And what do? We hop right back into the next match because we want to be put on that edge again. We want to persevere over adversity, and when we don't, it hurts just as hard, maybe even harder, than how good it feels when we win, right? But if you want to have a long-term healthy relationship with the game, you can't keep just putting yourself in this dopamine blender. You have to play with purpose, and you have to depart from this ecosystem of win and loss. And to do so, you have to contextualize when you're actually competing versus when you're practicing. If for you your number one Smash goal is to get as high as your GSP possible, well, guess what? Every game's going to feel like this. And, I don't know. If that's what you like, that's what you like. If you want to be a better player in general and you want to win tournaments, you want to get high rated in your local power rankings, national, make the PGR, you can't look at every single game as this exercise of competition. You have to look at each individual game as an opportunity to learn, to play, to have some fun, to relax, to learn some things about the game, and to sharpen skills, where you remove yourself from the results of any individual game. You lose 10 in a row, it shouldn't affect your mood at all, just as if you were to win 10 in a row. It's the process, not the result, that matters. So you need to get away from the idea of chasing results.
Well, honestly, that answer was super helpful to me. I think that I hope it's also helpful to Bodity, but that's such good advice. That separation of competition from your training is so important. I couldn't have said it better myself. Do you want to fire off the next one?
Sure thing, buddy. This is Skadoosh. Skadoosh asks, "What's up, guys? What character are you most excited about from a meta development standpoint? Is there a character that you think still has a lot of room for optimization that you really look forward to seeing? For example, I've been dabbling with Greninja recently, and I feel like there's a ton of unexplored depth with that character, and I think he could be a dark horse candidate for top tier lists in a year or two."
For me, that would be Shulk. You constantly see all of this. It was the same way in Smash 4. Anyone who's played Smash 4 knows that it's been exactly the same way. Shulk has had the most tech out of any character in the game. Just miles ahead, miles and miles more possible and development and potential than any other character. And you keep hearing this word thrown around called potential, and that's what Shulk embodies. And the day that we see Shulk actually used at full potential, I think we're gonna see some pretty amazing things because people are figuring out you can pretty much cancel all of your aerial ending lag with Monado art with art switching. You can wave dash with it. You can you can basically there's so many so much tech around the buffered cancels of Monado arts and the shadow iframes. There's so many different elements and ways you can play the game with this character, and I'm really looking forward to someone who actually takes this to the and becomes top 10 with this character, which is what people always place him on the tier list. So I just want to see it happen.
That's a good answer for sure. For me, it's Captain Falcon because he recently got buffed and Fatality's been doing big things on YouTube. Friend of the show, Hall of Fame, BTM Hall of Fame, Fatality, been doing a lot of cool stuff on YouTube. And I've been watching his Falcon play, and he seems to just be destroying people. Just he really shows the potential of the character. The Raptor Boost changes have done a lot for his combo game and his skill potential in general. So I want to see how these changes really manifest once the quarantine ends. And Falcons, like Mars has a Falcon. People are already playing the character in tournament. I would like to see some more representation, see just how far we can push this guy. But yeah, it's exciting, bro. I totally agree with you about the Shulk thing, though. He's one of those mystery characters where, if I'm afraid of any character, it's like a really good Shulk. Because it's just a weird matchup.
Yeah, you just can't land combos. Like if you've ever played against a good Shulk, you play a character that combos, Shulk gets out of every combo for free with shield art.
Oh, it's so annoying. I actually used to play against a really good Shulk, and when the game first came out, the first 6 months. And it's rough, man.
Yeah,
it's rough.
Yeah. Don't count on combos unless you know that they've already burned that. So we're gonna give this last question, which is from Aprox or Aprox. Aprox says, or Aprox, what are some of your favorite memories of casual Smash? Mine is before I learned the game, when I used to play stage hazards with Kirby and Melee, inhaling and kamikazing my friends off stage. Probably helped that we were never sober playing back in the day.
That's awesome. Yeah, I definitely have memories like that. The ones I cherish the most were probably playing Smash 64 and just playing Smash 64, Smash Melee, and Smash Brawl with my brother growing up. It was one of the ways that we hung out. And we were both really good for casual players. There's that classic theme where you play against your brother or friend, and you guys play all the time. And you go to your first tournament, you get washed. Well, me and my brother were actually both pretty good. I went to my first tournament, and I got third place. It wasn't like a super high-octane tournament, but I was always pretty good at the game. And I really attribute that to me and my brother would just grind and grind and grind and grind. And, I really loved playing with him. One specific memory I have is there were these two other brothers from our school who also were claiming, this is in Brawl, who were saying that they were also really, really good. So I was like, no way, I'm betting I think I bet $5 or something. I was in 6th or 7th grade. No, I was probably in 6th or 7th grade, yeah, at the time. And so $5 is kind of, that's a lot of money.
So
when
is this in Brawl
13.
or Melee? Okay.
This is Brawl. And so I'm like, no, I'm going to challenge you guys to a doubles match. My brother versus you and your brother tonight on Brawl Wi-Fi, the Nintendo Wi-Fi connection. So he played Pikachu and I played Link, and I would up smash people, and then he would thunder them. That was our little combo. I would up smash, and he would use Pikachu
so you guys had
thunder.
team combos even back in the day. Wow.
We did. We literally brainstormed the ways that we could beat these guys, and we just destroyed them. Granted, we were playing on Shadow Moses Island and Green Hill Zone, super casual maps, the Bridge of Eldon.
Oh, the Bridge of Eldon
played
slaps, dude. That's that.
That map is amazing. And, but we played for an hour. I don't think we even we probably lost 2 stocks total. Totally, and we had them on speakerphone on our house phone next to the
on
TV,
landline,
so we could hear them on the landline, and I'll always remember that. That was such a funny memory to me. What about you, man?
So, I might have already told this story on the cast before, but I don't care because I'm telling it again. So one time, Peon and I were we've been drinking some beers. We were streaming. He was streaming in his room in college, and we decide that we're gonna do a wager match. So someone on the stream asked us to play Game and Watch Dittos, I think, and
it was like a sub goal, like that someone got to choose.
Right, you had all kinds of sub goals. You had like cat dance as your sub goal. You like dance with the house cat. You'd like dance different music, and this was like one of the things. And so the loser of this match had to. We did one where like the loser had to like call dominoes. So we Game and Watch Ditto, and I beat Peon with my whack Game and Watch, and he calls dominoes, and it's so much more entertaining than if I had to call dominoes. He I think he pretends that he doesn't know what cheese is. It's like there's one where he like asks.
No, it's like I didn't know like how pizzas worked. Like what kind of like what do you want any cheese on there? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, okay, what size do you want? I'm like, what size cheese? I know, what size pizza?
Oh, I felt so bad for them because we did these like Domino's calls like 3 times, and if you ever wanted to know the inspiration for why we ever do prank calls, if you watch Beyond the Metagame, that's a small promo there, but there was this one time where it was this bet where if I don't know what would happen if I lost, but if we won, Peon would have to like basically agree for the rest of his life that purple is the canonical color of DK, and I won this Game and Watch Ditto with none other than a 9 from the judgment, and while I make sure to never abuse this because I know someday like he'll just say that he's had enough. So I don't actually abuse this that much, but yeah, Peon, what's the canonical color of DK? All right, thanks, Peon. You're a good sport. You're a good sport, dude. You're an amazing sport.
BTM patron, mod, and collaborator Ultimate, who you've made music videos with. I'll plug him. I'll plug the videos. You guys need to check Ultimate out on YouTube. He makes like Smash combo videos with different characters, but he also makes raps. It's like a music video where he raps about the character, the combos. He just makes a clever song. Avi, you've done some of the beats for him, instrumentals. You guys always kill it. Like it's some really high quality content. Like just actual good music. Like it's way better than it deserves to be, in terms of like how well known that content is. But anyway, in his DK rap, he mentions that purple is the only canonical color of DK or something. So when I first heard that, I was cracking up. I was like, that's a weird BTM lore.
It's a pretty funny reference. I always appreciate him for putting that in there.
But yeah, man, hey, this has been a hell of an episode, Avi. It's really fun talking to you. In terms of the quarantine situation, guys, just keep your chin up. I think we're trying to be productive in these times, but it's kind of a hard time. It's a hard time to be a smasher. It's a hard time to be anyone, obviously. But keep your head up. We'll just make the most of the hand that we're dealt, and we'll keep on going, baby. Avi, where else can people find you, my friend?
People can find me at Abhi Vaidyanatha on Twitter. Whew. And that's it. It's very easy. It's just Abhi Vaidyanatha. It's a very easy last name. It's should be super easy for you to figure out. And Peon, where can people find you?
Now here's the gosh darn thing. People can find our podcast, right? Our podcast what? Twitter, Abhi. Podcasts Twitter. What? At Beyond Metagame. You heard me right, guys. At Beyond Metagame, which may confuse you because the show you're listening to is called Beyond the Metagame, but maybe Twitter does not give a damn. I don't think they ever have, and gosh darn it, they never will. Of course, you can find me personally if you just want to get right darn into it, right past all the bullshit, just get into my direct feed, plug into me, like, in the Avatar movie where they plug their hair into each other's hair, and that's how they make love. And also, it's also how they talk to like trees, what implications are there? I don't know.
This is James Cameron's Avatar, right? Yeah.
Not the Last Airbender. We don't talk about that one. You can find me at Peon_BTM. You heard me. Peon_BTM for all of you blue people. That was also another Avatar reference. Aren't they making about like 16 of those?
There's a trilogy.
Haven't they already filmed?
It's supposed to be a trilogy, and they started recording them ages ago, and apparently they're supposed to come out sometime soon. But like they said, they were using like state-of-the-art technology like back like 10 years ago, and I don't know. It's like it's gonna be another Duke Nukem Forever situation, or Half-Life 3. Okay. It's like they've been making this game for ages. But
Yeah. So that's weird. I remember watching the first one on IMAX, and I remember being blown away at just the visuals. But I haven't watched it since, so I don't really know how it holds up. Anyway, that's a weird tangent at the end, guys. Thank you so much for listening. As always, goodbye. This week's episode was made possible in part due to the support of our patrons: BK Otter, Ultimate, Ampersand, Booney, Campbell Soups, Danderson, Hydra, Minlo, Pariah Sensei, Dean Guy, Two Tacos, Butter, Cerebro, Donut, Danny Boy, Dubai Poison, Eagle, Fart Daily, Ferris, Kyle the Hero, Marketing, Ringo, Rubop the Dog, Shaq Pernicus, Spencer, and Westchester.